Welcome to the Mane Up Memphis podcast, where we celebrate the grit, heart, and hope that make the 901 shine. Each week, we sit down with change makers, youth, and families to talk real mental health wins, money moves, and life skills breakthroughs. All the tools we use at Mane Up Memphis to uplift, equip, and empower people to build stronger, more resilient lives. Whether you're 14 or 40, a parent, mentor, or ally, this is your spot for stories that heal and strategies that work. So grab a sweet tea, get comfy, and let's step into growth together. Because here at Main Up Memphis, you leave the baggage, keep the change. Hey everybody, welcome to Main Up Memphis podcast. My name is Joey Laswell. I'm a licensed therapist and certified financial social worker. Proud to be a member of this team and part of this podcast. And I'm very proud to also introduce the the Wizard of Oz behind the scenes, the one well in front of the scenes too. But this is Miss Racheal Chantel, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, hey. All right, so this is not your first podcast experience. So, I already know a lot of your backstory, but since this is a new show, new podcast, why don't you give us like your elevator pitch? Tell us a little bit about your history, how you got to this point, and then we can get into what your vision is for the future.
So, as you said, everybody, I'm Racheal Chantel. I really don't know where to start in my story. I guess we could start. Let's say when I moved back to Memphis, right? So,
Okay.
I went to schooling at Middle Tennessee State University, MTSU. Graduated from there with a commercial construction management degree. Moved down to Dallas for a few years. It was further away from my family. I really didn't like it. I think I was just too young. I moved down there
Mm,
around like 24, 25. And but I needed to do that because that's where I really started to learn that I love the family structure. I love my family. Everybody was here in
gotcha.
Memphis and I was in Nashville, right? And you could just up and run that highway a few hours, don't think anything about it. But Dallas from Memphis is like what 12 hours in a car, and now
Mm-hmm.
people aren't able to come a few days. They got to actually take off work and be there like a week to actually,
Right.
make it worth that trip. And
Yeah.
so, I just learned I didn't like it. I was really just homesick and had an opportunity with my job at the time to move me back to Memphis because we had picked up a contract with FedEx at the time. Came on back, and this was like mid 2019. The contract fell through because we couldn't find enough workers to work that. But by that time, I was already living home 6 months, and 15-20 minute drive to see your family. I was not ready to move because they wanted to move me back to Texas into like the Houston area. And I didn't go. I can't remember. Hold on, let me think. Yeah. So I told them, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and like quit basically. I had enough hours to hold me over for like two months, I think, and then I had my short term leave. So they held me over for a few more months looking for jobs. At the time I was in a very big niche, right? And so I did mechanical estimating for piping for water facilitation plants. For a lack of people who don't know that, those are like where you flush your toilet and water has to get cleaned again to get reused. Um, they have these
Pretty
big,
specific.
yeah, and the piping that I would estimate, Joey, you could walk through it. Like even if your arms was span all the way out, we used to have these poles where we have to go through to make sure it was actually truly round and
Mm.
yeah. So everything has a real big niche down there. Um, no one liked being on the plant after Taco Tuesday. I could say that. So coming back from a city like that to Memphis, there wasn't really a job for that. People would tell me on my interviews, they were like, "Hey, you're really smart, and we don't really have a job." And I'm like, "Estimating is estimating, man. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand." But the
Right.
city didn't have like true estimators for construction. Two like people here will hold like two to three hats on one pay. So that was very new for me because I left Memphis at 18 and then I lived in Nashville and Chattanooga. So cities that was much bigger. And like I said, this is not a short story how we got here today.
No.
we got plenty of time. This is your dance, so let's hear the
So,
whole
you
story.
know, but yeah, so ended up getting a job here with one of the universities in the area, in their planning department, and that's where you can say the seed was set, the mustard seed was set, and I didn't really know it at the time. But now we're into like, let's say like August of 2019 or somewhere in there in the summer. I interviewed. It took like 3 or 4 months for the university to it's not fast coming from a city
Hmm.
like Dallas to here. That was a major shift change and getting things done and yada yada yada. Memphis is not fast on those things, right? But
Yeah.
anyways, started there with them. Literally, my job didn't really start until about November, which we were going right into the holidays. So the universities anywhere, they're about to shut down because they're going into their breaks. Came back in like January of 2020. That was the year. Um, Man, from January to March 26th exactly. I remember the date what that they sent us to be working from home, right? Was my first time actually on the campus and everything. And so then the pandemic started. All right. Well, now you just get to sit at home with your family members, right?
Hmm.
And this will be the first time in life that we all just probably sit in and talk to each other and really learned about each other. And I was really on this health. I was like a gym rat. Still am a gym rat, but I was on it really tough back then. And I would get my parents out. I would get my uncle out, my nieces. I would really get them out and moving in. And boy, we had a time. 2020 was a time, and taking cat naps throughout the day together. You just really, for me, I just started really cherishing the family structure even more and more. Again, another plant,
Hmm.
another seed planted. So now schooling starts up, and I have my master's in regional city urban and planning. So sorry, with a local government management certificate. Um, they're not under the same, so that programming was a little different because you can have so many different sectors you can go into for city planning. Some people can have a niche or focus on traffic. Another person can have it on green spaces, another person can have it on like infrastructures. My niche in that whole thing was community involvement because normally community involvement is the last piece that comes to the table when they're doing city planning. They have the private sector there, they have the city administration there, they'll have like maybe a university or something of that nature, like nonprofits. But no one was truly speaking up for the community. Um and that really sucks. Because the community are the normal ones that's the first or the last people to use these spaces that's getting created, but they're not even having a voice or being able to be represented at the table. I was just like, that really sucks a lot. So throughout that, I found my route into public administration, public health. So that's where the local government management certificate came in. But at the same time, I was still wanting to learn about city planning because my background is construction. So I knew everything past when the city approves for plans to get done and you break grounding. If anybody knows what that means, it's just starting an actual project and moving it forward to building new construction. But everything before that, I didn't know. And I wanted to learn about that. So that's how my degree was set up. So I learned everything before that. Okay, well, everything before becomes more of local government and having to learn how policies and laws and regulations and zonings, and there's just so many pieces that are just not common knowledge. And it wasn't coming to me either. I think I'm a pretty smart gal. But at that time, it was just like, well, what the heck is this? And so now they don't teach you this in school. Because if you knew, when people say that people have power, only if they knew what that truly means, because it is true. Like, it's so true, which is why I think it's intentionally done that the community does not have a voice at these tables, because if it did, we would run a lot more better things. Okay.
Absolutely.
Um, so going through schooling, I'm learning about how these different infrastructures, well, these different businesses run together. And I'm talking about the healthcare, education, finances, family structures, and so many other things too, right? How they're
Mm.
built, how they work together, and then how people fall through the gaps. People falling through a gap is a system that's built intentional because that's how you keep the rich rich and the poor poor. And it's very expensive to be poor. I don't think people
Yes.
understand that enough. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, and for someone like me who can, who grew up, right? I was the kid in school that could sit with the gothics, sit with the gays, sit with the jocks, sit with the arts, sit with the band geeks, and get along with anybody. Like,
Hmm.
and be welcome and be wanted at those tables. And
Yes.
so I the best way I can say it was like I'm a kid of the misfit, right? I grew up in a majority white neighborhood, and I was always the minority in the class, right? I was always the only black person in the classroom.
Hmm.
So with either being too ghetto for the whites or I was too bougie for the blacks. So I spent a
Mm.
lot of time with me find me. So
Mm.
for the people who actually wanted to see Rachel for Rachel will welcome me into their world, and I will learn so much. I will learn so many different things. And I appreciate it now being an adult because I can really enjoy when I go to different cities, or first I have to even want to go to different cities, right?
Hmm.
And just
Yep.
really be able to enjoy those things. It's because I know how my roots were created because of that, right? Um, so sitting in these classrooms, really learning all of that, and just knowing how my history was, it put a burden on my heart. It just really did because no one understands. Like, Joy, looking at you and looking at me, people are already gonna assume they know our stories. They freaking don't
Hmm.
know. Don't nobody know anybody's story by looking at somebody. Like, but
Hmm.
society will tell you that yeah, I'm gonna put you in this box, and that's where you're gonna have to stay. And going through schooling and learning that in his classes is like, oh, this is intentional. I feel like I learned the cheat code to the matrix. Like I truly felt like I was learning it. And so the more that I got into it, the more I wanted to just learn how to break apart these boxes that they put us in. Cause like I say, I know so many people who are in that box and they want to get out, but they don't have the support system to help them get out. And it's like, wow, like you just don't know what you don't know. You just
Right.
don't. And so this weighed really heavily on my mind, on my mental, and I was going crazy. 'Cause, I'm a person who is very outspoken, and with that being said, if I see something, I'll say something. If I see someone bullying somebody or just being, and bully is like a very vague word, right? I don't want you to think like
Yeah.
a kid or anything, but you can still bully as an adult. I don't like people targeting and messing with someone because they feel like they're stronger in them in any sense of form, because that's not right. And I've always been like that. And so going through this and learning how these systems are set up, I became almost hopeless. And I hate feeling like I can't help. Like I cannot. And I don't ever want someone else to feel what I feel. And it was just very heavy on me. And my best friend, and you'll meet her one day too. Leah, she's in the field. She's in social work, and I am ripping one on the phone with her constantly, like going through it. And she was like, "You need to go to therapy. You have got to talk to somebody." And I'm like, "Oh, therapy ain't gonna help me with this, man. Like this is America is capitalistic. Like I am waking up from the matrix right now. Like so much information. I'm like, I gotta tell people. People gotta know this. Like they gotta know if they know how to play the game. Like I am going in. She's like, you have got to go to therapy. I was like, okay, but she'll tell you, as smart as I am, I can barely hang up a freaking picture on the wall and it be even, man. Simple task, not my friend. But build you an airplane, I got you. I got you. That you know. So I sent her my insurance card. She found me a therapist, everything, set it up. I had to give her 120% credit for that. And I'm still with the same therapist right now. And started with her and just going through and that was a whole experience within itself. I guess that'll be another podcast for another day, how that happened for me, right? But one thing that she said to me, it was several sessions in. She said, well, if you feel like this, just do something about it. Like, if you're a person who takes action, take action. I'm like, you're right. I should take action. What do you think about this, you know? So I started in my head, and she was like, you know, a lot of people, you have connections, put it together. I'm like, you're eating right now, ma'am. Like, I really need to. So I end up putting together, and right, you know, you got these great connections. And so I'm also, this is probably another podcast episode one day. I believe in collecting favors, not using them. Just collect them. Just always help people. They be like, oh, I owe you one. I may cash it in one day. Maybe, maybe not. I just collect them. Always have people in debt to you. Never be in the debt to others, you know?
There you go. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay. I start planning this idea in my head. I'm like, okay, what can people, how can I touch a mass more amount of people and make a great impact to at least get them thinking for themselves? Because these systems do not encourage you to think for yourself. They encourage you to know what to think and how to think. You know, schooling is truly set up to have you have an employee mind, not an employer mind. So again, research and reading. And I remember just reading one portion of a book, and it talked about mental health. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the common denominator with so much of this stuff is mental health. And so I'm reading some more, and then it clicked, and I'm like, had I not had insurance and a little bit of money in an EAP program, I would never be able to afford this type of luxury. Like, I would never. So then that's how we brought in the financial education portion of it in my head, but I wasn't planning on doing anything with it at the time. But it did click in my brain. And so I have this little kitty, and she wants to be seen so bad. Say hello, Salem.
Goodness.
Say hi.
Hi,
She wants to jump on
Salem.
you so much.
Oh my goodness.
Now, will you let Mama leave, please? Now, I'm doing really good. It's only been 17 minutes. Hopefully,
There you
people
go.
want to listen to this interesting story, right?
Yes.
It's a
It's a great story.
And so I'm like, all right. I started calling my rich friends. I started calling my contractors and things, because if anybody talks to me longer than 10 minutes, they like, all right, Ray, she doesn't ask for a lot, number one, but she'll give you a lot, number two. So I'm calling them, telling them like, hey, I want to put this event together. I want to put mental health professionals. This is how green I was. I was like, I want to put mental health professionals in front of the community for people to benefit the way that I am benefiting from it right now. And so again, I'm telling Leah, and she was like, huh, they're called therapists, psychiatrists. Like, she starts giving me I'm like, yeah, all of that stuff. So it's like, I want to do all of those things. Like, you know, again, my background is construction, man. So it's very hands-on. And I'm like, all right, so I'm calling these people, and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll help you. I'm like, okay, what's next? After that. But, you know, end up being this great guy who throws events in the city. And I can't stress enough to people that it takes partnerships to get anything done. Like, you have got to have real community. Like, you can't just want to be anybody who believes in being that they're self-made. You are lying to yourself. It takes partnerships, it takes support, it takes friendships, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes a lot of these things, right? Must I remind you, between the time that I'm coming up with this idea and actually executing it, it was 3 years. It took 3 years. Wow. So it wasn't like I came up with this idea in January and then I just did it in May. No, it took 3 years. You know,
yeah,
because
dedication.
You know, but it wasn't like in my head, I planned everything out and then I just left it and I just let it sit. Because at the time, I wasn't anybody in the city. We were just coming out of the pandemic. I just moved home. I didn't really have connections like that. I had people that I knew who were powerful, but for people to want to put their name on you, I'm still struggling with that right now, but I'm starting to understand it the more influence that we build in this mission, in this purpose, in this business, right? But at the time, I was just like, man, why can't we just do it this way? Because again, you be quick. It's like a microwave. You ask for something from somebody, they'll do it. But at the time, shucks, no. So, um, there's a guy on Instagram goes by Gary V. Some people may know him. I know you said you know him. He said back then the best way to get people to buy into you is attention. That's the new currency. It's attention. You've got to get attention on you, and people will buy into it, and your likability for it. I'm like, okay, but how the heck do you do that? So that's how I started my podcast. And at the time in that year, it was called Her Advice for Racheal Chantel and Friends. And we would talk about how to build your own support system without actually having others, and how to believe within yourself. And we'll talk about timeless information. I just literally took it down about a year ago because it was conflicting with what Mane Up Memphis was growing into. And people can only accept so much because they're used to having you inside of a box.
Yeah.
But for people like me that lives outside of it, and I'm like, I can do this and I can do that. That confuses people. So it's just like spoon feed them, man. And I'm like, all right, I really don't know how I'm going to build this attention, but the best way to do it is just to try to get out there. And the podcast was doing great. It was doing really good, and people were really enjoying it. Had a great female audience on it. And so that was building some stuff up. And then I had two of my closest friends, my cousin and one of my girls on it. She ended up going to school for being a lawyer. And then my cousin's an entrepreneur. In life, we just could not match it anymore. And I told him, I said, okay. We had one comment that came up because I was going to try to keep it going on my own. And people were like, yeah, this is great information, but I rather listen to people who are actually doing it versus talking about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. I should do the things I'm talking about. I should. So we shut that down. Podcast and started going up. And by that time, you know, um, there was a large audience influencer page for I'm not Made of Memphis, Lord, from Memphis coming up in general in the city. And they were wanting to do this podcast, and they needed a female co-host. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, because they found me from Buzzsprout. That's where they found me from. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, this is my opportunity, because at that time I probably had maybe 5,000 followers on my Instagram. And I knew that I was listening to Gary Vee. So I was like, I always been a strategist. I encourage people to be a strategist and have a plan and just work your plan. I'm like, okay, how do I use this opportunity? Because this is someone else's platform. It's not mine. But if I want to step onto your platform, how can I grow my own platform? Because that's something I can control. So I was already thinking about it. And so when we started doing the podcast, the audience that would tune into us, because we'll do a live off of Instagram, they would love me. They would love me. People were enjoying. And that's when I was like, okay, this is good. This is good. Things were starting to go good. And I ended up picking up maybe 5,000 followers from it. I mean, it was doing great. And so now I'm like, oh, snap, social media is where the attention is coming from. This is what Gary Vee was saying. So now it's clicking in my head. So then I started doing this whole Instagram, social media, influencer stuff, and it was doing great. I could not figure out how to pick up trends. I could not figure out the formula of getting organic content to go until the individual for that platform has said, hey, there's businesses in Memphis that want to invite us out, and we should start doing it. So I was like, okay, so now we're starting to go to these places, and I'm starting to record. And I said, oh, this is a niche, because small businesses don't get this type of free advertisement. So I started making that advertisement for that platform. And I would always say, make sure the credit comes back to me, because that platform wasn't doing organic content. They would always do reposting content, but it was such a good niche, and it was above its time for Memphis, that there wasn't any other social media platform or page that was highlighting Memphis in a positive manner. So honestly, it was the first one to do it. Now I don't know what's going on now, but it was the first in 2020, like 2021, 2022. All right, so from there, again, this is not, I'm trying to get it out, but it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So from there, we started going out, and places were inviting us out more and more because they wanted their content to be on the page. We would go, but there was only one person who could actually make the content, me, because that was my idea. So now these businesses were reaching out to me directly, wanting there's, from a experience kind of view. I think they call it user generated content, UGC. I can't remember now. That was like a whole thing at the time, and I'm like, oh snap, this is great. So now TikTok was TikToking really well, and there will be trends that will pop up on TikTok that haven't made it over to Instagram yet. And now I'm watching the algorithm because I'm on this platform. And I'm like, if I can make organic content for this platform, which was like at 100,000 people, so it was a bigger platform than myself, then I can do it for myself. I just have to figure out how to make that happen. So now I'm like, people were talking about how Twitter and X or whatever, no, Twitter and Instagram, how things would pop up on Twitter before it come to Instagram. So people like, oh, blah, 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 blah. But I was never a person on Twitter. And I'm like, I'd never do that. So TikTok was starting to do its thing. And I'm like, shucks. And there was a trend that said, one girl said, I'm from, what was it? She was like, I'm from Atlanta or something. It was like, I'm from wherever it is. Trend that went crazy on TikTok. And now I'm like, no one's done it on Instagram and no one's done it for Memphis yet. So I made and I just did it. I just did it on the way. I was actually on the way to a flea market in Jackson, Tennessee. And I did it in the car, and I was like, I'm from Memphis. Because we're a country, not a city. Don't ask me twice. I'm from Memphis when we're playing space. I'm from Memphis and I'm just hitting everything. And Joey, that video went viral. That's what did it for me. I was shocked when I went on my Instagram. Oh, I made two. I made two viral videos. That was the one when I went back on my Instagram and I had like 100,000 likes on this one video. I'm like, oh, I ended up getting like 8,000 followers in like 45 minutes. Like, it was great. So that was that one. Great. And then the next one that came out was those videos where it'll be a person who comes or had an outfit and they like slap their hands or something and it blends into the next one.
Yeah.
So I did that one with you ever heard of a show, Basketball Wives?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay, so Evelyn did this crazy thing. And I'm talking about from like 2013. Like, we were like kids back then. Anyways, I made a video like that, and that was my second viral. So now I have some attention. I'm like, okay. Again, that's going great. And I have a niece, and that's a whole nother story. And so there was this opportunity for this pageant. And so it was the Miss Black pageant or whatever. So I did it, and I won. Wasn't expecting to win, but I won. So I was Miss Black Tennessee for 2024. All right, cool. Now the city of Memphis knows who I am. I have this clout. I got this 15 minutes of fame. What do I do with it? What did I do with it? Like, what do you do with this? And it's like, okay, this is the opportunity. This is the shot. I'm on the phone with my uncle, and I'm telling him, like, this is it. And he was like, now that you got this platform, he said, you should go back to your idea, your therapy idea. I forgot all about it. I said, what are you talking about? The idea that you wanted to put like the therapy, the mental health people in the community. I said, oh snap, this is the time. So this was literally, the conversation was in December, like I think December 31st, somewhere around there of 2023, because I was the queen for 2024. So starting in January, yeah, that's exactly what it was. I got crowned December 16th of 2023 for 2024. And from that crowning, I was invited to all the aristocrats of Memphis Christmas parties, New Year's parties. And between that, that's when my uncle said something. So I started going to town. I want to do this event in May for mental health, and I'm selling it. And people were like, okay, because I was the pageant queen of Tennessee, and pageant queens are known for nonprofit work, that it made sense. But I didn't know that. I was just doing something to make my niece happy, which is another story for another day. But that's how God works. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
here we are. I go back, I ask these rich people, they put it on, they take on a monetary burden, and we put psychiatrists, counselors, and mental health professionals in front of the community. And at the time, I had the police sergeant who was over the crisis intense team, the CIT team for City of Memphis. And I had a college friend who survived the massive shooting of the Waffle House shooting in 2018 in Nashville, Tennessee, come speak, just because of the gun violence. Once they got done talking about that, and because this is recorded, you never know who's watching, right? When you are calling 911, you can request certain type of training police officers or professionals to show up to a scene. And Joey has military background, so if I'm lying or denying, fix it. You know, you can say that when you call 911 and you say, hey, there's a person out here acting crazy. Don't say that, because now you're sending them into a situation where they have to be on guard because they don't know what they're going into. And it's easier for them to be prepared for everything than not to be prepared. And now they got to get got because they got first. And you're setting it up for disaster. Versus when you call 911 and you're looking at someone, you can say, well, I think they're having a mental health issue. Maybe you can send someone out that has mental health training. That is what this officer was talking about for the state of Tennessee. And, you know, we're called the volunteer state because we have the most volunteers that go into our first responding system of military branches or just in general from here. That's how we got the name of volunteers. So he really talked about, and he did such a phenomenal job of setting the tone. And then she came in and she just talked about how gun violence is after a shooting, right? We only talk about it in that moment, but what happens after it? She was shot several times, and the type of bullets that imploded into her body ricocheted. So they were hunting bullets. So once they hit their impact, they literally ricocheted inside her body to tear it up. Now, looking at her, you could not tell. But it again goes back to looking at somebody does not tell you their story. And that's what we have got to get away from. And honestly, just so everybody can understand the weight of what she was talking about, she's a bigger girl, and her best friend's life was taken out of this situation, that she put herself in front of her friend because she thought since she was bigger, she can take more hits. So you can't just look at someone and think you know their story.
Absolutely.
Now, after that, everybody went into these workshops. The first workshop was the foundations of mental health, what it is, how to address it, how to take care of it, because it's different from physical health. Stigmas, misconceptions behind it. It's just a lot of outdated, fake information, or just things to deter people away from it. Again, it's intentional. And then the last one was coping mechanisms, right? Because we're human. You're going to get triggered. You're going to get upset, but you don't have to act on it. So how do you get to de-escalate and walk yourself back to who you want to be? So we talked about that, and it rotated, and it did so well that it kind of just rippled through the community. And so people were calling me, and must I say, of course, the name was Mane Up Memphis. Be kind to your heart, be kind to your mind. That's how the whole name came. Um, anyways, afterwards, people were calling me and asking me to show up and do these different types of speaking engagements on mental health, and I was, and I went from being a mental health advocate to being a professional, and we just had to stop there, restructure, and now here we are today. TED Talk is done.
Wow, that's a journey. An amazing journey. And that's why I wanted you to really get into the details, because the more people understand what your process and everything that you've sacrificed and all the time, like you said, 3 years, and then you still had to work, and you're still working today to keep this mission going, expand it, like really get your name out there and get the mission of Mane Up Memphis out to the world. Um, So yeah, I mean, that's that's awesome. I'm once again, I'm still amazed. And then we haven't even talked about you are now pursuing your doctorate in what are you pursuing your doctorate in?
In philosophy, in specialization in governance and policy, right?
Okay.
And so
Wow.
the best way to put it is there's so many gaps now. And I'm going to say this one is intentional because it's not, but everyone cannot cover everything. Excuse me. Every service cannot cover every need, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And so say, Joey, that nope, we're not gonna put that on you because you are married. All right. So let's just say SpongeBob and Sandy are in a relationship and they're married. And Gary is their child, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Squidward is SpongeBob's brother. And excuse me, Squidward is Sandy's brother. Let's put it like that because now Sandy and Squidward are family.
Mm-hmm.
Gary is a child of Sandy and SpongeBob. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. There is a domestic violence that happens where SpongeBob has become mentally ill and wants to do damage to Sandy, and I'm trying to make sure I stay censored so wherever you upload this to, it doesn't come down. So um do physical harm to Sandy. Sandy is telling Squidward about this. Squidward is going to the police department and telling them what's going on in that house. The police are going to tell them there's nothing they can do about it because they're married and that is a family that's a family court issue. So
Mm.
unless SpongeBob does something that is a criminal issue, then the police department cannot step in. Okay. Well, one day, SpongeBob gets his hand on a water gun and decides to have a water fight with Sandy, and Gary's in the room. And Sandy gets hit with the water several different times, and now she has to go to the hospital because she's been drowned.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Sandy and Squidward are going to the police and telling them what's going on. The police department still cannot step in. They can now issue a restraining order, but this is still a family domestic issue because they are married. This is not a criminal issue. Okay. Well, SpongeBob decided that that water fight did not end the way that he wanted it to end. So now he waits the amount of time that he needs to for that restraining order to evolve, to not evolve, to end. I can't think of the word right now, but for it to end. Restraining orders only have a certain duration of time. So let's just say that restraining order is only good for 2 years. Well, SpongeBob has a lot of patience and a lot of time because this is his family. So in his head, I'm going to get you, Sandy. I'm going to get you one way or another. I'm going to wait because I'm going to have a great time thinking about it. All right, cool. Well, now Sandy is trying to figure out how to move out, but too terrified because SpongeBob keeps telling her that he's going to have a water fight again and again and again. You do anything that I don't like, we're about to have a water fight. So you might as well stay in this house. And if you don't, then I'm going after Squidward and I'm going to have a water fight with him too.
Mm.
Again, police department cannot do anything because these are just, they're not criminal acts. Threatening somebody and acting on it, they can't do anything about it unless they act on it. So I can tell you, I want to have a water fight, that I'm going to have a water fight with you. But if I don't act on it, then there's nothing you can say about it. Because I can just say freedom of speech.
Mm.
All right. Well, the day has came. Those 2 years are up. That 24 months. We are in the 25th month. Right? SpongeBob decides to come home, shoot up Sandy. Sandy loses her life. Now, Squidward goes and talks to the court and tells the court, I've been telling you for the last 4 years. I've been telling you these things. 2 things can happen. You can sue the police department now for criminal endangerment for or adjustment. That's what it is. Criminal adjustment. Or they could have took it to family court. But family court would have never did anything because they're married. And so in the state of Tennessee, Sandy is seen as SpongeBob's property. So the court would not get involved. A lot of states have laws like that where women are property of their husbands. So they have no rights. All right. So now that we got the story out of the way, there's a lot of gaps there. Because if there was some type of system like gap insurance, right, to cover her, where they could have stepped in for those 2 years, and these are real stories, what could have changed? What could have evolved right there? Now, I'm not saying that Mane Up Memphis is going to lobby, because that to me, that's a waste of time for what our mission is and purpose. Lobbying with the state to change their laws and policies, it takes years. People need help right now. They need help right now. There's enough people in their homes that are not safe. They have nowhere to go. They have no one to talk to. They have no support system. The people that are supposed to be their support system are the main ones that's causing them harm. Where do those people go? So that is the mission of Mane Up Memphis, is to help those individuals. And so what I am doing is dedicated my education structure to is understanding how these systems are created and how to just enough bend them and create our own system with what already exists. Are you still there? You look like you froze.
Yes. Oh, no, I'm still here.
Okay, I can hear you. So we're not looking to break the change, the cycle, or change. There's enough people doing all those great things. Can you still hear me? Okay. It's enough people wanting to break the chains, break the cycle, do all that. Great, fantastic. Somebody else can take that on. But for those who need help right now, those who are looking for ways to get out, that is where we're coming in. And so through my schooling, what I want to learn how to do is build that within the government and be where the government funding can invest in this infrastructure and not be something that is seen as a service, but an infrastructure, because everyone is going to the right because there's no option to go to the left. So what happens when there's the option to go to the left?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so if somebody's listening in, they live in Memphis and they want to get involved with Mane Up Memphis, because it's a nonprofit. You do accept volunteers, or maybe a mental health professional. Like, what would you recommend they do to kind of get involved?
Absolutely. You guys can visit our website at maneupmemphis.org. You can give us a call at 290-7226. The great thing about how I'm intentionally setting and building this company is for it to have flexibility, right? Again, we live outside of the box. So if you're thinking that you can do several different things, well, let's see if you can. If you can't, then just do one thing. But the thing is that you're doing something.
Absolutely. And you're doing a lot. Just to clarify, you're wearing many hats, and the company is growing. Got some big things on the horizon. What are some of the biggest things that you've got in the next weeks and months ahead?
So of course we're always doing these funding opportunities, but we are looking to partner with other traditional systems to come in and again be a support system, right? Like you got a headache, Advil, right? So you go to another major established company, then we'll have our services within there so you can have that opportunity with us. So we're just doing a lot of different partnerships and making new friends and building our infrastructure and keep going. It's the beginning of a very interesting way where we're ahead of our time. To make behavioral health a infrastructure, not a service, it's something new. I mean, Jeff Bezos started in his garage and this started in my mama's living room. So hey, here we go.
There you go. There you go. I love it. I love it. Well, we we barely scratched the surface, but this is the Mane Up Memphis podcast, and we're gonna talk at length all the different things that we got going on. I actually have a couple of, or at least one therapist who's interested. One of our teammates, James, he's interested in maybe being a guest, and we can talk about either men's mental health, which is relevant because we're hosting a couple of workshops on Saturday. So yeah, if you're interested, the Heart and Soul Men's Collective, I believe, is called Men's Mental Health Collective,
Yes.
at the Agri Center, 21st of June from 8:30 to 2 o'clock.
Yes.
And yeah,
The
so
facilitators or the host of that is Baptist Memorial Hospital as well as Shelby County Commissioner's Office.
yeah, and then there's some celebrities,
Yes, there
celebrities.
is Mr. and Mrs. Jamichael White, Elise Neal. She's from Memphis. And then there is Da Vinci, who's known for his role on All of American and 50 Cent's up and no, not up and coming. Um, one of his most anticipated shows, BMF. He's a mental health advocate too. So they've done a very well job of trying to touch every demographic.
Yeah, and that just to clarify, Mane Up Memphis, the mission is not just for men, even though it's Mane Up, like we want to clarify that this is it's gender neutral, we want to help everybody and give us a little idea of what Mane Up means to you and what, why you chose that name.
So, Memphis is its own country, not a city. We're gonna stand on that. We have, and I say that because Memphis name is dropped in the most songs, no matter what the genre is. Right? Everybody knows where Memphis, Tennessee is. There may be other
Hmm.
Memphises in the county, I mean in the country, but when you hear Memphis, you automatically think Memphis, Tennessee. With that being said, we have our own lingo here, just like we have our own dancing, our own culture. There's juking, there's jiving, there's checking, there's so many different things that no matter what you look like, where you're from, if you live in Shelby County, everything I just said, you are known about. You know about it. I don't care where you're from, you know what I'm talking about. So there's certain words that can be a filler, how people say or like. In this county, May, Junt, and probably a whole bunch of others not coming to my mind right now are filler words. And by that, I mean it can be a place, person, or thing. It can be anything. It can be a noun, adjective, verb. Those two words are very intentional in this county. So when you say, how did you choose that word? At first, I wanted it to be something where people knew it was for our county, for the city, by the city, that it was very grassrooted here in the county. Because we in this country, this city, we do not like outsiders trying to come in and tell us how to be
Hmm.
better people. We don't like it. You
Stephen A.
can't tell me
Smith.
that. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that the culture wasn't lost. And I know when people hear the word culture, they think black. No, I meant the culture of this county, the history of this county. Because if you go to a Memphis Tiger game, a Memphis Grizzly game, if you're on Beale Street, if you're at Overton Square Park, if you are anywhere, if you're even in at the Shelby Farms Park, Riverside. Everybody from every side of the freaking county is there. From Carterville to Bartlett to Arlington to Lakeland to downtown to East Memphis to Germantown, Cordova, all of them. People are there and they are rocking. And what are they saying? Whoop that trick, having a good time. I don't care. They are having a great time. They don't care that you live in the projects and you're going home to a gated community. If y'all are sitting next to each other in those seats in that FedEx Forum, you are rooting on your city at the end of the day. And guess what? It can be an old white person and it can be a young Asian person in that room. And I guarantee you, when they having a good time and they were born and raised in this county, Junk a man coming out their mouth. Simple. It's the
Yeah.
culture. So, with that being said, how can you bring people together to feel like we're building one and carrying this thing together? Well, I told you I'm a gym rat.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we say in the gym is don't be a itch. You know what I'm saying? And not see, man up, man up. Don't be an itch. So one day I was sitting, I was trying to figure out how to be creative in the name. And of course, social media content and everything on the backside. It just popped up. I was like, Man Up Memphis. And I was on the phone with my uncle and I said, Mane Up Memphis, because I drew it out. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, Oh, that's catchy, right? I said, Oh, they not
Mm-hmm.
gonna rock with that. That's not, I said, that's not proper enough. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not
Mm-hmm.
professional.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, and that's what makes it you. Because you're the only person that can really break through and have that be acceptable. And here we are, what, almost 3 years later.
Mm-hmm.
I know everybody says Maine. I'm not saying it. But for Maine to hit the main street, Maine, for it to be on the news the way it is, for people to start dropping it, I know Mane Up Memphis was the person to make that word professionally acceptable. I know it was. I see it. I've been told that, and I'm happy about it because that's our influence, and that's just the beginning.
Mm. Man, well, is this the same uncle giving you? He's giving you some gems, some great. Yeah, we need to have him on the show and pick his brain because he sounds like he's a visionary. He knows, he knows.
He is my familiar before I got this cat. He definitely keeps me going. It's the same one. If you have not met him, oh, you'll meet him Saturday.
Oh, nice, awesome.
He's the very first employee of Mane Up Memphis.
Oh, well, I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm honored to be like, cause yeah, I just hear I've heard him twice now, and he's been spot on both times. So
Yeah,
that's amazing.
he's very
Um,
spiritual. Yeah,
mhm. Okay, well, let's see. We like I said, we still barely scratched the surface, but I think we've covered a good amount. And is there anything on the horizon that you want to highlight to the audience and just kind of like they can be expecting or anticipating?
absolutely. You can expect great things from us. You can expect a community to get belonging from us, family. You can expect to just be you, to be encouraged to be you, to be empowered to be you with Mane Up Memphis. So if you want to get involved, you don't know how to get involved or what to do, then just come over here because it's a place of opportunity where a mustard seed is going to actually be able to be prospered. You know, it's not a place to where you feel you have to pretend to put on a mask. There's enough places out there you got to go do that too. I have to still do that. I don't like doing
Mm-hmm.
that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So over here, you just get to be you. If you like to laugh, smile, join the Avengers, man. We're excited to have you over here. Um, if this would be the last time that you keep up with us, I don't remember anything else from Joe and I. Just remember this: be kind and respectful. It's not hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's the bare minimum right there.
There it
We
is.
need more and more of that in today's world. So I think that's a great place to kind of pause and reflect, and just say thank you to all the people who have helped build Main Up Memphis up to this point, and we appreciate you guys, and hopefully we'll get more and more people when we as we get bigger and get more traction, you know, hopefully it's going to keep going. It's going to keep building. And I'm excited to be just a small cog in the wheel, but I'm just ready. So if anyone wants to be on the show, on the podcast, you can reach out to me, send me a DM, or reach out to Racheal, and we'll make it happen. I would like to really feature all kinds of Memphis natives, people who are power players in the community, and just kind of pick their brain and talk to them. So we're open casting for podcast guests, and maybe even some musicians. It would be cool. I've already reached out to a Memphis-based band that I really like called the Narrows. So if you're listening, I already DM'd you guys, so I would love to have you guys on the show just to kind of highlight some local Memphis artists. But all right, well, any last parting words for this episode, Racheal?
Um, no, I just want to say that Joey came to me with an idea for a podcast, and here we are. So that's how Made of Memphis works.
There you go. Yes, absolutely. And we're building the Avengers every day, as we've said. So this team is going to get bigger and stronger and awesome. So yeah, just really excited for the future. And thank you, Rachel, for everything that you've done so far and continue to do and will do in the future. Because I know this is really just getting started for you. I mean, you're at the beginning of an amazing journey. So I'm just really happy to be a part of it. And you guys can join us too. So go to maneupmemphis.org, follow us on our socials, check out the podcast, share it with people, and as we say at Mane Up Memphis, leave the change. Oh wait, I messed it up. I messed it up. All right, so it is uh, leave the
Leave the
baggage,
baggage.
keep the
Keep the
change.
change. I
All
wanted to
right.
say it with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're working on that, but that's yeah, that's gonna be our sign off is leave the baggage, keep the
Keep the
change.
change.
All
I
right. Well,
think it's
thank you
really dope.
guys, everybody. We'll see you guys on the next episode, and be kind to each other.
All right, well, that's a wrap for today's episode of the Mane Up Memphis podcast. Remember, real change starts when you show up, break cycles, and walk into something greater. If you felt inspired, do me 3 quick favors. Subscribe and leave a note or a 5-star review so that more people can find us. Share this episode with someone who might need a lift. And get involved. Volunteer, refer a youth, or donate at maneupmemphis.org. Follow us on our socials at Mane Up Memphis for behind the scenes goodness, and send your questions or success stories to us, and they might make it on air. Until next time, here at Mane Up Memphis, leave the baggage, keep the change.